everyone. Monday night. How are you doing? Good to see everyone. Welcome, and please welcome our special guest, Angela Osborne Gray. How are you doing?
Good evening, everybody. I'm doing great.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I have to tell you, I am looking forward to this conversation, Angela. The chat room's already filling up, and because I think we're addressing a topic that, well, I meditated on it for a while, and I began to think when you and I last spoke, what does it mean to be awake?
Yeah, exactly. And there's several different contexts. It depends on the belief system that you're in. So,
Yes.
you can be in Christianity, and in Christianity, it's all about the apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's turning it into the negative construct. Well, what is apocalypse? The revealing.
Yeah. Oh, good word. Good word. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, why is it twisted? It's to keep everybody in fear. Then you have Buddhists and the East Indian religions, which is enlightenment.
Yes.
And there's different paths there. And in Indian, Native American, we call it lighting the eighth fire.
Oh, I love that.
Or the Rainbow Warriors.
The lighting of the eighth fire. Is that what I heard? I love that. Yeah.
Because I'm Anishinaabe. And we have what is called this Seven Fires Prophecy.
Now, give a little background on who you are, if you'd like. It's strictly up to you.
Okay. With myself, I'm an individual. I'm 52 years old. I just celebrated my cosmic birthday, which was great.
Happy birthday.
But here, a lot of people don't understand when you study the Zolkin calendar. Okay. At 52 years old, your birth date, your cosmic birth date is every year is different than your regular birth date. Okay. But on your 52nd year, it falls on the same day. So your sun is in the same sign, exactly the same location as when you birthed into the reality.
Wow.
And you can prepare yourself for that. And I did a lot of preparation for that. So when my birthday came around,
I'm just telling you, I'm pissed off because I didn't know, man. I just went here and gone. Okay, so anyway,
well, my husband,
I missed.
My husband he said to me, he says, I missed it. I says, you didn't miss it. You just didn't realize that you had the opportunity. You were still experiencing it.
No doubt. But
he just didn't prepare for it. So you can prepare for it because you can get it really extreme downloads during that time. So out of 72 hours, I got 6 hours of sleep. The rest was download time. So yeah, it was pretty
That's
cool.
A marathon.
Yeah, big time. My brain was like, enough. I need sleep. But I kept going anyway.
So would you consider yourself a shaman?
Yes, I am a shaman. Good. And we are all shaman at our core.
Yeah, I believe that.
Being a shaman is just being your sovereign individual, finding what works for you.
Yeah.
Now, you have your base, of course, your foundation, which is common throughout all cultures.
Mm-hmm.
But every shaman will develop their own technique.
Yes.
Because everybody's different. Everybody's energy is different. Everybody's environment's different. Everybody's culture is different. There's similarities, but there are many, many differences.
That is so true. And in fact, I was listening to a video today of a very wise Indian man who was teaching about the universe. And this universe that was originally created in, and I have to remember, I think it was 100 cycle degrees. Yes. Unfortunately,
the Vedic
cycle.
Yes,
the Vedic cycle. Yeah. And hello, Heidi. Hello, Suji. Hello, folks. It's filling up here quick. And I was quite taken aback because the person who sent this to me, he said, I really do believe you're at a place where you can really receive what he's teaching. And so I cut myself off It was kind of in my meditative hour that I just focused. And what I come to realize was this, Angela, was that I have been getting downloads for the last 2 years that have now prepared me to begin to see on a much grander, larger scale this
Hmm.
journey that we are on.
You're seeing the bigger picture.
I
You're
have.
pulling back a little more each time as we gain in knowledge, in our gnosis.
Yes.
And no one person is better than another.
No, 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 because the
But
journeys
this
are.
does take work. It's not
Yeah.
a game it's not a day in the park. It can be, but at the beginning, it takes hard work.
It is. And a
But
lot of cognitive patience.
oh,
Because I got to tell you, there's times when I feel very much disenfranchised.
oh yeah, you go through that constantly, and that never ends. Just
No.
if someone says that they're totally enlightened, it's like, no, you never really get there
How can you be totally enlightened? I mean,
because you're always
that's an
every day.
oxymoron.
Every day, it's a struggle.
Yeah, yeah.
It's, I compare it to, I'm Canadian, so I compare it to driving down the highway and you're in the middle of a snowstorm. And if you haven't got your hands on the wheel and in control, you're going into the ditch once you hit that first rut.
You're about to be out of control real quick.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh, how that is beautiful. No,
So
excuse me.
it's a daily walk. Every day we have to find that middle path.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. Yeah, we
And
do.
we might not be perfect. Nobody's perfect. We're going to experience days when we're really pulled off center.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of recognizing that and pulling yourself back on and moving forward and not being so hard on yourself about falling off because
Mm.
everybody's going to.
I did an interview today with a beautiful, beautiful person, um, Sylvia Inawaka. And she said something that when she was on her astral journey, that she met the gods,
Mm.
and there's more than one.
Yeah.
And what they told her, because she said her viewpoint was this: if I've come into this life, I do no harm to any other life. If I respect life, but I have issues with myself, negative issues, negative point of views, negative self-talk, that she felt that she was still a good soul, good person.
Mm.
And what God said to her and says, no, you stink. You literally stink.
Yeah.
You don't understand the fact that it's how you see yourself, your inward
Yes.
self.
As within, so without.
Isn't it always around us? It's so cyclical.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
and we learn a lot of things, especially, as a child, I was always a very strange child. My father was petrified of me by the time I was in my teens because I was so in tune and very psychic. So when somebody was going to pass away, I'd be able to tell. If somebody was going to get hurt, I'd have a dream about it. And my father didn't like that. He was a military man.
You and
And
Jenny Moonstone ought to talk. Y'all really, y'all should really talk, but go ahead.
oh well, I have some interesting stories I could get
Well, you
into
got the
about
platform, so we want to hear.
part too, because he worked in what was termed as the whole in CFB Borden. He worked for the SIGS Corps for communications, doing computer programming in the 60s and 70s.
Okay. All right.
So we'd drop him off at work. My mom would throw us kids in the car and drive him, and drop him off. And it's just a door in the hill. That's all it is. He opens the door, he's gone. And it goes down like 8 floors.
Yeah. Okay. So
he was doing computer programming there. And he'd come home with some really interesting experiments, little things that he was working on. He was a very crafty man, very intelligent. And he'd bring home these circuit boards. And if people think that LEDs are a new thing, no, they're not. He was playing with them in the 70s with these circuit boards. And he'd bring them home and he'd program the circuit boards for them all to play in music and sequence.
Interesting.
And then he's tried to teach me how to do computer programming. But as an intuitive child, I always questioned him about communications and stuff like that. He'd say, "Oh, you have to learn about this and learn about that." And it's like, why? Because it's not going to be that way. And he'd
Mm-hmm.
say, "Well, I'm the parent, I know best." You know, back military parents are very, very strict
Mm-hmm. I agree
and
with you on that.
very ego minded.
Yep.
And that's okay. You know, they have to go through a lot. So their mind has to be that way in order to do what they do
So
in
going
certain
on in life,
contexts.
as you continue to grow, did you train your natural intuitive abilities? Were you allowed to, strengthen them?
No, because there was a lot of things that were thrown into my path, and that usually happens with many of us. We
Mm-hmm.
come from fractured homes, um, abusive families, all
Yep.
sorts of things get thrown onto our path to steer us away from becoming our sovereign being,
Mm.
understanding who we are and becoming that shaman we're supposed to be.
Oh, I like that.
And you know, like with me, it was just one thing after the other. You know, with my parents, they had split up because of certain things going on. My father didn't like the idea of me being just like my mother because my mother is Aboriginal.
Mm-hmm.
My father is white, and I was raised white because my father wanted no part of
Oh,
any
but
of
your
us.
bloodline goes back to the Aborigines then, right?
They go back to the Anishinaabe people, the Algonquin people.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a very old race.
And I also have like I have my non-status card, but that's all a big game. You know, there's a whole bunch of stuff that's been played with these the land grabs here in Canada.
Okay.
And there's all sorts of stuff is going on behind the scenes that's not ethical. And there are so
Yeah.
many people out there who are looking towards the Aboriginal peoples thinking that they know everything. And I want people to understand that put things into perspective, please. Because when you look back at the history books, I have a lot of old books
Mm-hmm.
and I do a lot of reading on, you know, the explorers and, you know, just having them describe what they experienced really tells a whole story in itself. And back in the 1700s, when the explorers came to North America, for every one canoe of the explorers, there'd be at least 200 canoes of Aboriginals.
Wow.
Now, after the smallpox thing, well, who handed out the smallpox blankets? Of course, they give the smallpox blankets to the shamans of the tribe. So they're the first ones to go.
Mm-hmm.
Who holds the knowledge? The shaman and the elders. And we know with any kind of illness, the elders end up perishing as well very quickly. So you're left with the youth.
Yeah.
So, anyway, when you read on into these books, you'll see by mid 1800s, they describe for every one settler canoe coming in, you've got maybe 10 of the native canoes. And then by the time the late 1800s, there was none. It was all just women and children left trying to survive.
Mm-hmm.
So I beg to question how pure is our information unless it comes from a shaman.
Hmm. Yeah, I can't argue that.
And we weren't allowed to practice our ways until, well, up to the 1970s, it was illegal
I
to
did not know
even
that.
do powwows.
Mm.
So when I did all this research, you know, when I found out, oh, I was so mad when I found out my ancestry. I just was so upset because there was so many lies, and it was lies upon generations, though. It didn't, you know, just start with my mother and my father. It started with my grandparents' parents who left the reserve because they were taking the children to residential schools. So they wanted no part in that. So a certain part of our family left the reserve and said, okay, as Aboriginal men, we're going to marry non Aboriginal women. As Aboriginal women, we're going to marry non Aboriginal men. so that we can have that mixture so our children will not be taken away. So then your culture gets lost. What culture was there to transfer on, which is very minimal when you really look at it.
Jeez. You see, this is, I know we weren't going to talk about this, but this highlights a much bigger problem and a consistent problem. Throughout history, what we witness time and time again, in fact, I wrote down here, if you start going back to the first, what I called the so-called purification period, in which we began to see the burning, the removing of knowledge.
Yeah.
Now, this came in the form, whether it was on a printed word or whether it was on the tradition of the spoken word.
Yeah.
So we began to see these purifications that began really around the first century, because as the golden age began to wane out, and as we
we were quite fallen by that time.
Yes, we were. And in fact, that's what this very wise, I don't know what the proper term for the professor is, what I'm going to call him, was saying, us, we are now so different than from what the original model was.
Oh, yeah, big time.
That, the DNA is just beginning to denigrate. And anyway, the point is this.
Yeah, but just 1 second. The DNA, though, it has been denigrated and degraded, but it can be upgraded.
Yes, and we're going to get to that point because this was brought up in 3 different conversations I had today. So getting back to where we see where you are at now with your culture, again, here we are, 20th century, and we're still seeing it.
Yeah. And it's very sad. It's very sad because this whole culture has disconnected the energetic aspect of our reality.
Yeah.
And this is why the Aboriginal peoples use pictographs and petroglyphs.
Thank you.
Because they cannot be destroyed. You know, if you're in tune, if you've got everything going on, you know, and you're in tune, you just use your hand and you touch that pictograph, you will get a download. But you have to be at a certain bandwidth. It's like tuning in a radio station.
Yes.
You know, so as we gain in levels, in increasing, but there's effort that's got to be given. You know, spirit is not going to bless you unless you're going to have gratitude for that blessing.
No. Is that how it works?
Yes.
Well,
big time.
Some people got to get that memo. So we're dealing on multiple paths here. We're seeing the removal of knowledge of the races, of the cultures that were glimpses into our past. We see today a history that has been greatly altered.
Yes. And written by the victors too.
It always is. Napoleon said it best. He said, history is nothing more than the lies that the victor agrees upon.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let me step back here. So we're all agreeing that it's lies. All right. Yeah. So how can we even begin to know? And I asked the question in the beginning of this for the night's lead-in was, can you be awake and not aware? Or can you be aware and not awake?
Yes, you can be aware and not awake.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Okay, I'll give you an example.
Okay.
Most people are aware. Those people who are walking around, going through the motions every day, doing their regular job and supporting their family, doing what needs to be done, and knows that, oh, they're lying to me, but there's nothing I can do about it. It is what it is. That's somebody that's aware. They're just not awake. Becoming awake is when that alarm goes off that your soul, your divine spark is already set. Nobody needs to go out and wake everybody up. Everybody's alarm set to their own time. Because you go and try and wake somebody up. Believe me, I've tried it. I tried it with my mother. And she went back to sleep
Didn't
because
take.
it didn't take. So it's like, and I seen the light in her eyes because I try to get people to understand to always make sure you look into the person's eyes. There's a reason why Yeshua said the eyes are the windows to the soul, because they truly are.
They truly are.
And that's where the outward manifestations of these archonic influences or these entity attachments that come into play will have an outward manifestation. But it's not a physical one, though. It's an overlay that the camera sees. The camera is another set of eyes for us. And we've
So
lost that ability
we
to
have.
see that. But we can gain it back. You can train your eyes to get it back.
Well, I think as we were talking about in meditation, everywhere I go now, no matter who I talk to, the key, whether it is to healing, whether it is to begin to explore the astral plane that begins to go beyond our level of consciousness here, it's meditation.
Yeah,
Meditation, meditation, meditation. And meditation comes in many different forms.
exactly. Too many people have the idea that you have to sit there and, no, you do not have to do that. I don't do that.
I
The
don't.
way the way I meditate, I have a picture window. I pull my chair up there, I put my feet there, and I just sit back and just, and I watch everything, everything going on. From the chipmunks running around to the blue jays flying into the trees to tapping into the energetics, because you can see the energetics,
I believe
especially
that.
in winter when you've got the background of the snow.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you turn around and not have a focal point, and people know what I mean by that. When you don't have that focal point, it's like a haze.
Yeah.
You see the energetics. And once you start training your eyes to see that, it gets sharper and sharper. Then you'll start seeing colors. And it's just amazing the stuff that you see. Because when you walk by plants, you'll see like a starburst come off them, because they're happy that you're recognizing them. It's pretty amazing the things that we have that are not activated, and people have no clue because they're too focused on perfection, and they're not focused on themselves
Yes.
and feeling. You have to feel with your body.
I agree. I think that we lost the ability, Angela, for us to be able. I believe there was a time when we were in harmony with all life here on this planet. We could
Yes, we were.
communicate with the plants. Plants
Yep.
communicate. We know that. We can measure it.
Oh, yes, they do. Oh, there's a. Did you have that one picture that I sent you? Did you get a chance to look at that one of the tree
Hmm.
where it showed the blue energetic strings coming off the branches down into the ground?
Yes.
And with the backdrop of the snow, you could see it very, very well.
Yeah.
And that reminded me so much of the Spider Woman creation story. It was like, oh, it's all about the energetics. That's why they use the web all the time to describe things,
Makes sense.
because it's the energetics. That's what dream catchers are.
Well,
They're to catch our dreams. Our dreams are energetics as well.
and I think they're actually the ones that give us more of a memory. And I wonder if the plant kingdom, I was thinking about, for instance, the insect kingdom. The insects have this
The
ability.
flying ones and winged ones.
Yes. Well, the ones that I was thinking of,
The
particularly
crawling
were
ones, yes.
the ants that how and the bees, is that
Yeah.
they pass on their total consciousness to the next generation.
Yeah.
There's never a cut of it. It continues. I wonder if the plant kingdom has such a record as well, but because we've lost the ability and the sensitivity to talk to plants, to
Mm.
talk to animals,
Yes,
that
we have.
we've lost part. Maybe I just thought of something. Maybe they are the ones that actually contain the true record of our past.
They do. Bingo. Ding, 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 ding. Give the
See,
man a
guys,
prize.
that's why I get to sit on the front row, guys.
I'll give you an example. Okay, during the eclipse, I went to Bon Echo Park, and that's where the pictographs are. They've been there for thousands of years. So I went there to experience the eclipse. I went out in my kayak and I'm just, woo, really amazing experience. But we only got the partial eclipse here where
Hmm.
I am. But when it crosses in 2024, we'll get the full one. So I'll be there as well at the same location, not on the water because it's going to be in April. And yeah, it'd be a little bit too cold at that time for me.
Well, you
But
never know. If this tilt continues the way it's going, you may be in the Sahara.
well, we don't have any ground frost this year.
Yeah.
None. And it's like I'm sitting here looking out the window and I'm watching this circulation come back into the plants because I'm very close to the plant kingdom. So I'll tell you, finish what I was saying about Bon Echo. During the eclipse, okay, the eclipse occurred and we went to my favorite spot afterwards, after we got off the water and we sat on the dock. Well, as I was walking back to the vehicle up the boat launch, I'm walking past the plants and I'm like looking at the plants and it's like they're reaching out to me and they're going like this. And I'm like, am I seeing things? Is this the wind? So I got to stop. So I'm like this, checking out where the wind's coming from. No wind. And when I stopped, they stopped. Then when I started to walk again, they started again. And I'm just like, this is so cool because they were actually recognizing, because I was recognizing them, giving them gratitude, totally open to what they had to offer to me. Because when I'm walking in nature, I am in such gratitude of everything because you have to be the observer. And when I say the observer, you have to be able to put your hands like this and be able to see your fingers wiggling. That's when you're the observer because you're seeing the whole picture, your whole panoramic view.
Well, you're really giving me some real thought about that. Imagine, I mean, I'm really starting to grasp, as I would say, ring out that truth that we can probably talk to the plant kingdom. We just
Yeah.
don't know their language.
Well, it's not so much of a language with them. Again, it's all frequency.
No, I get that.
Yeah. So if we learn and sit just with the plants and work with the plants, any gardener is going to tell you they're
This is
connected to the
true.
plants. They talk to the plants.
I talk to them when I plant them.
Exactly. That's their language, though, you caring for them. A plant only has a short lifespan.
True.
So when its life is being recognized for its full purpose and potential, they are so ecstatic. It's like a fairy jumping around, woohoo, and they express it.
Yep. Well,
It's amazing what they give me, and it's hard to explain, but I see the circulation going back into them. I see the circulation slowing down in the fall so that they go into hibernation. Trees are the wisdom keepers of the land. They
yes.
they hold the codes to what needs to grow in that area. So when it rains, that information goes into the raindrops and seeps into the ground, and away it goes. It's really interesting how this works.
There's
And
also an electrical current that is.
yes, there is.
Yeah.
The Earth Mother has that within her.
Mm-hmm.
And again, those pictures that I sent you.
Yeah.
I don't think I sent you the one, but there's one that I have where it's actually blued rods coming up out of the ground, blue light rods all over my backyard up in Cloyne. Is in 2011, I decided to take myself out of the city. I had found out about my heritage in 2007, and I really worked big time to, learn about everything that I could about my ancestry. And then in 2011, I decided, well, I've had enough of city life. I can't take this anymore because I've always been an intuitive and an empath and a psychic all my life. And it just bears down on you so hard on your energetics. And I was bedridden.
I was going to say, did it make you sick?
I was very sick.
Yeah.
And I told my husband, I said, look, we have to get out of the city. So we bought a house out in the middle of nowhere, out in the country, 17 kilometers from Bon Echo Park, which was where the pictographs are. And I was there for 4 years. and my husband drives trucks. So it's just me out there with the animals, with the trees, with the plants, having fun. And oh,
Quiet.
it was amazing time. Amazing time. I was shown so much and so many experiences. As within those pictures, you have seen the big blue orbs coming out of the forest. It's just, and the
Do you
stuff that
think
they
that
have.
they were healing you?
Not so much healing me because they wanted me to
No, I.
realize that I had to get out of my victimhood too, because at that time, I had hepatitis C
Mm-hmm.
that I got from blood transfusions when I was 7 years old in 1972. So, I was living my life. Okay, I've got stage 3 liver disease. Okay, I'm going to be as spiritual as possible. I'm going to learn as much as possible about my ancestry so I can move forward, because I know this physical avatar is going to pass.
Right.
So you prepare yourself. And then this year, it was like I was rewarded for that effort. They come out, I ended up going on the treatment, which was very expensive. It was $75,000 for 3 months that I didn't have to pay for, thank Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And I am cured now.
Wow.
So, they did my blood test a couple weeks ago. And I said, okay, it's been 6 months since you've done your treatment. It hasn't returned. You're good to go. So it's like, nice. Okay, I got my foot back into life now. So now I can start taking the knowledge that I've gained over these years. The total dedication. Honestly, I dedicated 12 hours a day to this stuff because I thought if I'm going to pass, I'm getting out of here. I ain't coming back. No way. And it takes a lot of work. And I think Spirit recognized that and was assisting me and giving me those little pushes. Because sometimes we'll fall back. We'll take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. And we get that little shove again to move on. But we need that little initiative, that picture that's going to spark that. What was that? That is so cool. Or the experience with the tree or the experience with the birds, because I have got an unlimited list of experiences that has occurred that has shown me that this reality is much, much more than what we are taught it is.
Much more. Much more.
Oh,
By the way, the
big time.
voice was telling me that actually Earth did heal you because every drug we get, whether it's synthetic, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's from, nature's pantry directly, is still from Earth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I
It's just
tried
an,
everything myself and that's is how I've gained a diverse range of knowledge.
there you go.
I,
Yeah.
I've I'm working towards my holistic healthcare practitioners
Excellent. Excellent.
licensing here in Ontario.
By the way, it
Uh,
seems that that's a very dangerous profession because those doctors seem to be turning up dead.
it'll only hurt till you die,
Well,
right?
I have a friend who's a cop, and the story that he always said, it's about the guy that jumped off the 10th story building and they were doing the investigation and asking the people along the outside of the building, did they hear anything?
Mm.
And they talked to a woman on the 3rd floor and she said, yeah, I did hear him. And she said, well, what did he say? He said, well, so far, so good. That's the true optimist. So,
Yeah.
so getting back to the awareness of this now,
Mm-hmm.
the plant kingdom, then we look at the animal kingdom.
I'll give you a
Ag-
story about the animal kingdom just to
let's hear
show
that. No,
you
let's hear that. Yes.
how we can work with our reality.
Okay.
And my husband used to hunt, and he was so happy when we went up there in 2011. He said, "Oh, I'm going to be able to go out and hunt, and I don't have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and travel an hour to go hunting. I can get that extra hour sleep and
Sure.
then go out and hunt." So
Yeah, I can dig that.
every year hunting season come around, I'm sitting there and I'm sending out these blast waves, eh? Okay, guys, they're here, they're here, they're here. This location, this ridge, this ridge, this ridge. He never got anything the entire 4 years we were there. And that was even with 1 year, 2 of the guys had doe licenses. So they could shoot anything.
Didn't get
Never
anything.
got nothing. So my husband has given up hunting, which is good. because he knows he won't get anything. Because you can send out blast waves to notify them.
Well, it always amazes me that when you look at the cranial structure of most animals, take horses, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's ludicrous for us to really come to this conclusion that somehow or another their brains are in such an operative way that just because they can't seem to talk or communicate the way we do, that somehow or another this represents a diminished intelligence.
Yeah, no, they are very intelligent. So I have 3 dogs, and big dogs at that. And I've always been an animal lover. And they do communicate through their eyes.
Yeah, they do.
But if you don't know the animal, and if you think, oh, it's just an animal, no, it's not just an animal. It is another divine spark of creation that should have the respect that they deserve.
Oh,
And we're
I,
not giving them any respect.
my, I have a, my wife and I have a toy fox terrier, Dancer, and I'll guarantee you that dog has personality, and we have bonded so close that we do communicate. And it's quite amazing that, again, we're getting back to what does it mean to be awake?
Well, this is what it means to be awake, is knowing that, oh my Lord, this isn't just inanimate, tangible objects.
Yeah.
When you understand that we're all made of little particles floating around, all spinning to make us solid. When you understand that concept and really understand it, when you touch something, you can match that frequency because you are of the higher frequency. If you are of a lower frequency, there's no friggin' way you're going to be able to even tune it in where you get it partial. And if your chakra system is shut down, forget it. It's like a modem. We're a walking meat modem. Our brain is a transmitter and a receiver.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have a circuitry within us that must be understood. And in order to understand that stuff, we have to put together also those little nuggets from each religion, and they're little puzzle pieces, and they all work together to make a whole. That's why they want all religions fighting. That way, then nobody talks
No,
to put
sure.
things together.
Of course. I mean,
it's
I mean, that's the answer, let them,
mm,
what is it? The one emblem that we did on the patches, then what it said, let them fear and let them hate. And that's where we are. And so when we begin to talk about, I want to talk about this ability of how we can begin to even heal our DNA through meditation and understanding the frequency. And I think, Angela, so what I find with so many people, they desperately want the knowledge.
mm-hmm.
They desperately want to know, but where they get confused at is how to turn the noise down.
Yeah. And a lot of people, have to develop their own technique, because what works for one is not going to work for another. This whole awakening process is as individual as your fingerprint.
Yeah.
It really is. And there's where a lot of frustration comes in with a lot of people, because they're trying this, they're trying that, and it's not working for them. And they're getting frustrated and thinking, oh, well, they're not worthy enough, which is even worse self-abuse.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is.
It's not that they're not worthy enough. They're just not finding the right guidance to be able to understand what's going on and find something that works for them. And this is where holistic healthcare practitioners, are ending up dead, because this is what we do. We turn around and take a look at the person. We do a couple tests with the chakra system, and they're tests that they have to fill out themselves. So we have a good analysis of where their chakras are spinning or not spinning and stagnant. We'll have them draw a picture to include certain things in that picture, and each one of those things in the picture, like, for example, a sun, a house, a river. Each one of those things represents something of their psyche, but they're not aware of it. There's a lot of tools that can be used to find out what's blocking you and how to dematerialize that block.
Well,
And
it's
it
a
may
good
take
point
some
that
work, a lot of work, but it can be done. And nobody is better than another person. Just because one person understands, just because myself, I have knowledge, I'm no better than another person. We all have that. And we are all here to be the divine sparks we are meant to be as brothers and sisters and help one another.
I agree with
in truth and in integrity.
Yeah. So you know how I get for my chakras? You know what I do?
What?
I color mandalas.
Yeah, that's really good for that.
So here you go. Here's the one I'm working on now. Maybe you can give me some interpretation of what you think about that one.
That's pretty cool. Very, very colorful. I get rainbows from that.
So I call
lots of rainbows.
I call that the yellow submarine. Only someone. Here is another one. This is a completed one.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very, drawing and coloring is very therapeutic.
It
with
is.
some people, it can be journaling. You can also do chakra journaling, which is very interesting concept. Yeah, awesome.
So I just find it that it opens up for me the ability that from the top as it is all the way to the bottom. And in that, I never realized, Angel, maybe you can address this, is that if there's a block in the chakras, then it's going to show up somewhere else.
It will, most of the time, if you have a blockage, it was going to show up in a manifestation, whether it might be a physical manifestation or an emotional manifestation.
Yeah.
No, I'm working with a few friends because a lot of times, if the person's of the same frequency as me, within the same bandwidth, we're all students and teachers to one another. So I usually don't charge anything, to assist those people. It's the individuals that really need that extra work where I have to dedicate a lot of hours to analyzing what they've given me intuitively so I can come up with a game plan that's going to work. And I've had great success with.
That's what's my next question, the success ratio on that.
Well, with my mother, back in 2015, my mother, she left when I was 12 years old.
Okay.
And I seen her, let me see, 4 times from the time I was 12. I was 48. I seen her 4 times. But in 2015, she called me and she said she was having problems with her abusive husband, all this kind of stuff. So I said, okay, figure out what you're going to do and we'll deal with it at that time. And then I had this dream and I called her back and I said, look, you have to get your butt down here by the end of February. I don't know why. I'm just being told to tell you this. And then I was guided to get all her doctor's appointment set up for her family doctor and get his physical done, all that stuff when she arrived. And everybody said, oh, you're crazy. You don't know your mother. She's a total stranger and you're going to help her with a health issue and you're going to open your door to her. And I said, yeah, she gave me life. So if I can do something to save her life, we're even. That balances out the karma. She gave me life and I saved her life because took her to the doctors. She had a mammogram done and she had stage 3 breast cancer. So she had both her breasts removed. She had 13 lymph nodes removed. Out of those 13 lymph nodes, 4 of them were cancerous. So after her surgery, they sent a nurse, which I told afterwards, never come back. Send me this stuff. I will look after my mother. And I did. I did all her personal care for her. Then when the doctor said, okay, are you coming in for treatment? I actually had worked on my mother enough during that recovery time of 3 weeks that she said, no, I'm letting my daughter take care of this. And she did. So she refused radiation. She refused chemo. And I put her on natural earth medicines, a very old, ancient Aboriginal formula that's still produced to this day by a family. And she left in July to go back to her husband when she figured she was dying. Oh, she was so spiritual and she really wanted to learn. But as soon as she got that clean bill of health last year in February, where you got a clean bill of health, it's been 2 years, no cancers returned, you're good to go. She left all right in July, back to the abusive relationship.
Well,
So
that's
it
your
just
path.
shows, exactly, it just shows that you can try to awaken somebody and they can be presented with a situation where it is going to take their life, and they can have enough understanding to help heal themselves, because it wasn't just me,
Mm-hmm.
it was her as well.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about entanglement, energetics is entanglement. I have not heard a lot of people speak about entrainment.
Entrainment. So let's talk
Yeah,
about that.
we
So
can
how do you
entangle.
define that?
Okay, entrainment is when you bring the other person up to your level.
Okay.
Okay, just like with two clocks on a wall, they will eventually entrain themselves to be in sequence
Yeah, that's called a
together.
cadence rhythm. Yeah.
So you can do the same thing with your energetics to help a person heal. So if they're really down low and they don't understand how to lift themselves up, just being in your presence is going to encapsulate them in enough energetics where their DNA says, oh, okay, I know what to do now, and go do it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right.
Because that's how the body works.
I approach it in a little different fashion. Um, I have a gift of healing. I can
Mm-hmm.
lay my hands on people and
Yes.
they get healed.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I learned decades ago when I realized I had this gift was that I saw, and I know this is going to sound strange, there was a movie in the 60s called The Fantastic Voyage where they shrunk the people down
Oh,
and they
yeah.
stuck them
Okay.
in.
Yeah. I remember the old
Yeah.
one.
Well, when I first realized I had this gift, that's what I see when I lay hands on people, is that I actually can see it into a cellular type of thing. Sometimes I can see dark masses within that, but anyway, that's how I
Well,
interpret that.
exactly. You're actually using your body as a channel.
Yeah,
And you're visualizing it in your mind. But when you're
that's
laying your hands onto somebody, it's like with the therapeutic touch, Reiki. Personally, I don't like using Reiki because I don't like using symbols,
hmm
um, unless I get them through my own intuitive ways.
yeah, sure. I mean, Barbara DeLong was the same way with her cosmic deck, where she meditated and saw the Mandela. So I can
Mhm.
understand it. Well,
Yeah, and
different approaches. Yeah.
everybody, if you are awake, and again, it's all based down to the energetics, understanding the energetics, who we are as a chakra system, who we are as a brain transmitter and receiver, who we are as a manifester.
Yeah.
There's, I don't know, I haven't heard you speak of this before, but there's a thing called gene codes.
I've
Have you looked into that?
no.
Very, very interesting. There's a
And
book about
what'd you call that?
gene codes.
Gene codes. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I'm okay.
Now,
Actually,
I did mine, and
okay.
my body is a manifesting generator.
Mhm.
So again, that's a little piece of the puzzle that we should be paying attention to, because if we know about our chakra systems, if we know about how we transmit and receive information, if we know how we manifest through our thought, word, and deed, because it's a circuit, we
Yep.
think the thought, it creates that spark, okay?
Yep.
Ignition. We speak it forward, it creates the vibration, the resonance factor. Then we complete the circuit through the magnet that is our heart, through our belief and
Mm.
our intent. but the intent comes from here to create the spark. So
Yes.
once we close that circuit, okay, it's off on its way to manifest.
Yeah.
So this is why people have to be very, very conscious about what they think and what they say. It's okay to think things, you know. Believe me, I was in the business world. I'm a retired purchasing manager. I've got 4 college diplomas. Believe me, I was sucked into that world because I was raised in the white man's world. But I have chosen my Aboriginal ancestry, which has given the basis for me that activates the codons in my own DNA.
Yeah.
And so many of us are such a hybrid. Okay, we're such a mixed breed.
We all are. I don't know. I haven't ever met anyone. That's the problem. I just don't. I keep on. The more you dig on this, and listen, I have listeners all over the world that send me stuff, and I'm going, okay.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff going on. But
Oh.
what I try to tell a lot of people is seeing that we are such a mixed breed. We have so many fractals within the DNA construct. Choose what you identify with, because we do have to have a spiritual practice that we must identify with.
Yeah. I mean, I view this
And
as like,
religions aren't that bad. When we are in low consciousness, we need a religion
yeah, you need
to
something.
guide us.
I kind of look at it like this. I've now viewed it as I'm in a pantry and there is an assortment of different things on each shelf.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some I can take pure, like chocolate. I'll eat that pure, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be a religion for some people.
Yeah.
Now, I look up there and I can see pasta. Well, I can't do anything with the pasta unless I mix it with something down here that'll actually allow me to have pasta sauce.
Yes.
And that's how I view the guests that come on here, is that it allows all of us who are really looking and really seeking that's what I say, is that here's the pantry. Find what works best for you.
Exactly. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, I get so frustrated sometimes because I see things much, much differently than people do. Most people.
Yeah.
My brain works much differently than most people because I have the analytical side of me, you know, because I used to do a lot of production scheduling and stuff like that. And you got to be a numbers person. But then when my spiritual side, I saw that, it was like so much more fulfilling. And I never let them combat one another. I allowed them to be in unity with each other. And our brain has been fractured into, this is the way I look at it, is into the 2 hemispheres. Eventually, if we come into the mind of unity, we do grow new pathways that reconnect the 2 hemispheres. And that's what opens the crown.
I can see that.
And then that crown can never be closed because you have the energetics firing to provide the opening. It's like a portal. Your chakra. It's like, oh, sometimes I freak myself out with the understandings that I get. And I was like, oh my God, where did the heck does this stuff come from? But I love it the way it comes in.
Yeah.
And we have to be in such gratitude of it. And it's a very unique journey for everybody.
It is. It is.
And it's not one to be feared. And if you're fearing it, you're not going to go anywhere. You're stagnating yourself. You're allowing your wheels to spin. You're stuck in the mud.
Well, I think what we've identified tonight in this hour's just flown by. My goodness. Is this.
Wow.
Here's the problem, and I'll use my wife as an example. When we were in Christianity, she grew up in the Midwest, and her view of God is that she always called God the whack-a-mole God. You know, the game they used to have at Carnival.
Yeah, whack-a-mole, yeah.
Yeah, because you pop up your head, he's going to smack you down. And what I'm trying to get to, our culture, everywhere I see it, I don't care where it is, it is universal in our species and all the races, is that we have this core of fear.
Mm.
And what we do, Angela, is that it's taught to us when almost from the first day we enter into this death plane that
We
it's
get we
fear.
get the fear as soon as we enter into the birth plane when we get slapped on the ass.
Well, I call it the death plane because you're going to die eventually when you're heading out
Yeah.
this.
Yeah,
But
but the fear is instilled in us as soon as we enter in, and that's when we get slapped on the ass by that doctor
yep.
in a cold room.
Yeah, on top of that. And so
Yeah.
as my wife as we become more and more awake and aware, what we began to realize, as she did particularly, was that she had the tendency to worry,
Mm.
worry, 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 worry. And I believe most people are just that. When they get hit with a situation, they resort immediately to the negative instead of saying, oh, well, this is actually the best thing that could ever happen.
Yeah. Look
And
at both aspects.
yeah,
And
yeah,
this is what I teach people to do. Always look at both aspects. Look at the negative of it, look at the positive of it, and don't let either of them rule you.
yep.
Make your own decision based on the feeling that you're getting in your solar plexus and in your heart. And don't pay attention to the mind when you're just learning. Psh, take a back seat, get to the back of the bus.
I like that. When I tell people, start charging for the rent in the penthouse of your head. If
Yeah.
something's going to be up there, make sure it's paying the premium price and it's delivering the premium result.
Yeah, and most of the stuff that we learn, it's so much fear based, and it keeps us in the lower vibration
It does.
and fight or flight.
I was just talking about this today in a situation, and again, I was telling before we came on live, I was telling Angela this. I sent myself a message in the bottle. I had this download this morning and made a message to myself that I'm going to later make a program. But here is the point. We have something in our past that has happened, Angela, that has just literally cauterized our ability to look back.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a learned trait that we have adaptive as a result of the fight or flight. I don't know.
I think it's a combination of both, but because of the physical avatar,
Mm-hmm.
it being dumbed down, we've got all the foods, the additives, all that kind of stuff. Myself, I only eat 3 meals a week. That's all I eat. And the rest of the time, I'm surviving on water and sunlight. That's it.
Well, you're
And
not that now. That's interesting. That's a show we could do right on there
yeah.
alone. That's very interesting. So, do you have a YouTube channel?
Yes, I do. My YouTube channel is Earth Ascension Rising.
Okay. Did you hear everyone in that? And I'll make sure that when I post this public, that we'll get that in there. And do you have a website?
I've been working on my website, but the
Okay.
internet gremlins are just freaking me out.
They're
And
there.
they're
Yeah.
so bad with me. It's insane. So what I've decided to do is I opened up a Patreon account, and
Okay.
all my work, instead of, having the website and doing a blog and this, I was looking at the Patreon, and they have all that on
Yeah.
that
Why
platform for people
reinvent the
to
wheel?
blog. And exactly. So it's like, I'll open up a Patreon account, and for everybody that goes to the Patreon account, I am offering consultation by the hour and by the half hour.
Cool.
And I don't charge that much for it's $15 a half hour and $30 for an hour. Anybody that supports me on Patreon, for every $30 donation, they're going to get a half hour
Cool. Cool.
of time. So because we have to be able to help one another and support one another. And I don't see a lot of people out there actually doing the analysis, submitting to a client the documentation that they should be filling out, so that if they're serious about it, they have to get to work now, because things are going to get really crazy soon.
I don't know about you. I think we're
Yeah,
already
no,
in La La
you
Land.
you think it's bad
Yeah.
now? Oh boy,
Oh,
and it's nothing really. We're not going to have devastation or anything like that. That occurs when the fall occurs. World devastation occurs when the fall occurs. And there's at Göbekli Tepe was purposely buried. At that time, the higher consciousness beings, they purposely bury stuff that they need when the rise comes again.
Sure.
These very important sites. Other sites were destroyed through the cataclysm. The cataclysm occurs to wipe out all the technology and bury it so that lower consciousness beings don't get their hands on it. It's common sense when you really think of it from a higher perspective.
And I'm also learning something. I'm going to have to, as I continue this journey and I document it, is that there is a process for those souls that we actually can personally, on an individual level, begin to catapult individually our life journey. And it's not just this life.
Yep.
I don't think it has any end.
No, it doesn't.
But I do
because we're traveling through the multiverse.
And yes, we are. Exactly. We are traveling through the multiverse.
And we experience different worlds as we do it. And everybody says this is a prison planet. It can be a prison planet if you want it to be.
Yeah, and we're going to do more on that. Now, something that I am hearing, I have to tell you, Angela, and it'd be interesting in your meditation what you're going to pick up to this, because I'm asking everyone that has the intuitive gift and you can out there and you can talk to the spirit realm. Here is what I am hearing, and we're at the top of the hour, but let me just plant this. I am hearing from more and more people that there is now in the spirit realm, the ether, the message is coming through. Something's happened to our timeline, folks. Something has happened.
Yeah, we'd have to have a whole show.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. And we're going to have you back. And I want everyone else out there, something is going on here. Now, I've heard this today from 2 different interviews. These people are worlds apart. Twice it came up in both interview. Something's happened, folks. The spirit realm knows.
No. Spirit realm knows everything.
Yeah, they know. It does.
Oh, yeah, they know.
It does.
I watched your show the other night about people worrying about, oh my God, they're monitoring me. And I'm just like, yeah, you're being watched every second of the day. So what's your problem?
Yeah. It's like I had someone write me an email and she says, thanks, Wayne. She says, my dog used to like to come into the shower, and she says, now there's no way I can let him in there anymore. I said, oh, that's all right. Angela, it's so good to have you on. Thank you. This has been just a delightful conversation. It's been intellectually stimulating, and more than anything else, it's helped for me to define this awakening process. And I don't think that there is such a thing as being totally awake.
No, when you're totally awake, you're actually dead.
Oh, well, now that's
we'll end it on that.
I'm going to say, well, thank you, everyone, for stopping in tonight. I just want to say I appreciate every one of you. You could spend your hour wherever you want to go, but I love the energy you people bring. The guests feel it. Angela, you're in all the time. You see on the chat room as well. So, and listen, folks, if you have a gift, a story you want to talk about, this microphone, this platform is as much as yours as it. Just because it has my name on it doesn't mean anything. If you want to come out and tell your story, write me. We'll get you on. Angela came in. I'm richer for having talked to her and now realizing more and more. And I think like this, she says, we learn from each other. We teach each other. We learn.
We're students and teachers of one another.
Yes, we are. That's beautiful to said that. All right, folks, take care. We'll see you tomorrow night. I'm going to have Sharon on. We're going to talk about some things again, Angela, about cancer and, how this conversation will play relevancy in tomorrow night's conversation. So thank you for the gift.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And that's what you are. You are a precious gift to all of us. And we're going to have you on again because we have a lot of work to do, don't we?
We do. But we can get there. And we can do it in not just little steps, but big strides.
Big strides. Thank you, moderator.